So I know some time ago I reviewed Gisada Ambassador, which is the original fragrance. This one is actually a flanker of it. And I said some really positive things in my video. It seems like that fragrance, since its release, has received a lot of love from the community. Here we have a brand new release from the brand. This actually came out towards the tail end of last year, 2022. This one is called Ambassador Intense. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this brand new fragrance, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's episode and I give you my thoughts on this brand new fragrance by Gisada, it's called Ambassador Intense, I do want to start things off by saying that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload future videos to the channel. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or if you took something of value from today's episode. It would really mean a lot to me. Now, the one thing that I mentioned about the original Ambassador is the fact that it kind of had like a Dior Sauvage vibe, but it was actually a lot sweeter. And it had a fruity sweetness, not a spicy sweetness, not a gourmand sweetness per se, but it actually had like this mango-like quality about it that I thought was really interesting. When it comes to the original Dior Sauvage by Christian Dior, you do have this bergamot, pepper, and Broxen thing happening in there. With this fragrance in particular, I looked at the note breakdown and there's tons of notes. There's like 30 different notes. So I'm not going to take the time to go through all of them. I'm only going to talk about what my nose detects the most. And I will mention this was composed by Olaf Larsen, who is a wonderful perfumer. I've actually released a few fragrances that were made in collaboration with Olaf Larsen and Lucas Suzak and a bunch of other really accomplished perfumers. But this fragrance does kind of smell like an intense version to the original Ambassador. I'm going to clarify what I mean in just a little bit, but I also do want to mention that this fragrance does get sweet, but not in a fruity way like its predecessor, but in an actual gourmand way. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on the smell. Let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So of course, when I first sprayed this fragrance on the blotter, the first thing that I thought to myself was, I thought to myself, does this smell like the original Ambassador? And of course, the original Ambassador, like I said, does bear some resemblance to Dior Sauvage. And I thought to myself, yeah, I can kind of sense that. I can kind of sense a similarity to Dior Sauvage. It has this sort of freshness about it, but it gets sweet and spicy all at the same time. So that's when I felt compelled to try to make some other connections and comparisons to other fragrances that I own or have tried. And it didn't take long for me to make the connection to what is a flanker of Dior Sauvage, which is Sauvage Elixir. Now, of course, we have Dior Sauvage, which is kind of like the initial release in the line. And then beyond that, we have the Eau de Parfum, then the Parfum, and then the Elixir, which is the spiciest version of all of them. So it seems like this fragrance is a few steps ahead, and it skipped the Eau de Parfum and the Parfum, and it kind of went straight to the Elixir category. So this fragrance does have that spiciness that will remind you of Sauvage Elixir, which will also inadvertently probably remind you of Apex by Roja Parfum, which has also gotten compared to Sauvage Elixir by Christian Dior. Now, the thing that makes this fragrance different is the fact that it has some gourmand tendencies. So yes, there's a lot of woods, there's a lot of spices, but there's also some sweet spices in there like cinnamon, and I know there's cardamom in here, there's an incense note, so it does tend to get kind of dark in some regards. But you do also have licorice and cinnamon, and adding to all of that, you have the sweetness of raspberry and caramel. In the dry down, you also have, and I thought this was really nice, in addition to the cashmeran and the patchouli, you also have some sweet ingredients like vanilla and tonka bean. So I think it's that combination of the freshness that you would find in something like a Sauvage Elixir combined with some of these sweet notes that kind of, in my opinion, make this fragrance smell like a hybrid between Sauvage Elixir by Christian Dior and Paco Rabanne's 1 Million. If you've tried 1 Million, that sweet sort of a cinnamon, caramel, vanilla vibe that you get from it, and that spiciness that you get from Sauvage Elixir, that is exactly what I'm getting here. Almost, imagine a Sauvage, and I stand by that, right? I saw nobody else online made a comparison to 1 Million, but I am more than happy to do it in this video because I know what I smell. There is this sort of narrative that has circulated talking about how, you know, Sauvage Elixir is, and I would agree with this, by the way, is kind of the more mature one of the bunch, and it's very sophisticated, and it's kind of grown up, and it has this, you know, this mature, some might even say manly quality about it. And Paco Rabanne's 1 Million has often been heralded as the best clubbing fragrance, right? It was like the pioneer in that genre, that category. So for me, I kind of imagine this as being like this mature yet playful and flirtatious fragrance that would accompany or complement that personality flawlessly. If you're looking for something that is spicy, grown up, but not too serious, something that has a light, playful, and flirtatious side to it, if you like fragrances that tend to go in a bit of a sweeter direction, you don't want something that is not going to be overwhelmingly spicy, definitely check out Ambassador Intense. Again, I stand by it. I think this is kind of a hybrid, if you will, of Sauvage Elixir and 1 Million by Paco Rabanne, but it smells awesome. I think the bottle with the gold heart accents, the black bottle, is very sleek, very classy, and I, for one, am looking forward to making this my scent of the day tomorrow and possibly even a few days this week because I think it's a wonderfully done fragrance. And I personally really love it. There's something about the smell that is so intriguing. It's like it's spicy, it's grown up, but it's also like sweet and flirty at the same time. Definitely check this one out if you have the opportunity to do so. If you're a fan of the original Ambassador, I think you owe it to yourself to try this one too. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, it is unique, despite the fact that it kind of reminds me of a few different fragrances. I mentioned Apex by Roja Parfum. I mentioned Sauvage Elixir. I mentioned 1 Million by Paco Rabanne. But the overall smell, this sort of amalgam or fusion of these different notes and ingredients that I get from those other fragrances is unique to my nose. In terms of the longevity, you can expect 8 to 9 hours from this one. Projection was fantastic for the first hour of application. It radiated within an arm's length. It became an elbow's length scent right around hour 6 or 7, a skin scent right around hour 9 or 10. In terms of the versatility, I think it's great for a gentleman. I think a lot of people would argue that it leans traditionally masculine, and I say that because the fragrances that it reminds me of are marketed for men. I think this one is great for formal occasions, but you can also wear this one at the club, especially if you want to give off a bit more of a sophisticated demeanor. I think this is great for the colder weather as well, and I think this one would appeal to anybody of any age. In terms of the presentation, I actually do think it's a step up from the presentation of Ambassador. I think the all-black bottle with the gold accents is really classy. My final verdict on this fragrance is it smells like a fusion between Dior Sauvage Elixir and Paco Rabanne's 1 Million. It has the spices, that ambroxan, the sophisticated qualities of Sauvage Elixir, but it also has the sweetness, the cinnamon, the caramel, the vanilla, and the tonka bean of 1 Million by Paco Rabanne. Please try this for yourself. I have a feeling you'll really enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me today. That was my review of Ambassador Intense by Gisada, Switzerland. If you own or have tried this fragrance, let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Please hit the subscribe button, the bell, and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.